Good morning, everyone. We are going to give it just a couple of minutes just to give time for everybody to get signed on, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning to all. We will get started here in about 1 minute. Myra, you all ready? We'll go ahead and get started then. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Online Reviews 101. I am Jenny Tukeski, the Programming and Communications Manager here at the Better Business Bureau Midwest Plains. We just wanted to let everybody know that we are recording today's webinar, and later on this afternoon, we'll send out a follow-up email for you with a link to the webinar, as well as the presentation information for you to be able to use and review back as a reference in the future. This morning, Myra, the Executive Vice President of the Review Solutions at Third Coast Interactive, will be spending time with us, and we're very excited to have her with us this morning. Myra oversees the company's overall strategies and initiatives by working closely with global brands, collaborating with national associations and organizations comprised of business owners, and managing the partnership with the Better Business Bureau. Today, she will be talking about reviews, how they can be a positive impact for your business, the best methods of asking for a review, and the effective ways to respond to reviews. If you have any questions this morning, please go ahead and put them in the Q&A section, and we will answer them throughout the presentation for you. So we will go ahead and get started. Myra, welcome, and thank you, and it's all yours then.
Thank you, Jenny, and thank you to everybody for attending today's webinar. Like she was saying, I'm going to focus a lot on reviews online and how you can leverage them to take control of your online reputation as a business. And so let's go ahead and kick it off. Why are online reviews important? I think as a business, especially nowadays, we instinctively know that online reviews are important, but we don't really know why. And I think really the key is online reviews are important to businesses because they're important to consumers. As you can see here, and I just want to point out that a lot of the stats that I'm going to be presenting today come from Bright Local's local consumer survey. So this is the most recent iteration from 2024. And then I'll also point out when I have stats that aren't from Bright Local's survey. And so you can see here, 97% of consumers say they're reading online reviews. So that's virtually everybody, right? So everybody reads online reviews. And 41% of consumers use 3 or more review site platforms when researching businesses. So it's not enough to just have really good reviews on one review site or one review platform. You have to have a variety of them to really have an impact on what consumers think about your business, at least when they're researching it. Okay. Going off of that, it's not just important to have online reviews, but the recency of the reviews are important too. As you can see here, 93%, which again is an overwhelming, I mean, that's almost everybody, care when a review was written. And over a quarter of consumers actually expect to see reviews from the past 2 weeks. And so what that tells you is it's not enough to have great reviews from a couple months ago, right? I think I see a lot of businesses that are like, oh, I have a 4.9 review rating across all of my review sites online. But then you take a look at the reviews and they were written a year ago, 6 months ago. And as we're starting to see, consumers don't put as much, they don't think reviews written that long ago are as important as ones that are written more recently. And when you really think about it, and this is something that I'm going to be talking about a lot, I know everybody on this webinar is either a business owner or works for a business, but you guys are all consumers too. And so if you think about your behavior as a consumer, it makes sense why these stats are the way that they are. So for instance, you probably want to look at reviews that are more recent than 2 or 3 months old when you're researching a business, because you want to look at experiences that you think are going to be the most similar to yours if and when you do end up patronizing a business. Okay. And of course, it goes without saying that the star rating is really important when it comes to your reviews. So 71% of consumers won't even look at a business with a 3-star rating or lower. And then 59% expect businesses to have between 20 to 99 reviews. I know that's a pretty big range, but to me, that just says you have to have a lot of reviews, right? So yes, and again, I do the same thing. When I'm looking at maybe restaurants to try out, I see one with a 5-star rating, but they only have 2 reviews. Well, I don't think that's going to be a fair representation necessarily of what I'm going to experience if I go to that restaurant. And so I think when people say 20 to 99 reviews, that just means a good, healthy number of reviews that really contribute to that high rating. Okay. And this is something new that we've seen just within the last couple of years, and that is businesses responding to reviews. In the past, it was enough just to have, again, that great star rating, really good reviews that talk about your business. But now, almost as many consumers that read reviews also expect businesses to be responding to these reviews. And if you have a lot of reviews to respond to, I always recommend responding to them as soon as possible, maybe waiting a few days, if you're not able to respond right now. But once again, 87% of consumers do expect businesses to respond within 2 weeks. And so what that says is, it might not be feasible to try and respond to reviews as soon as they come in, but responding to them regularly, again, within 2 weeks is going to be best practice. Okay. The good news is we talk a lot about having reviews online and the reviews being recent, having a lot of reviews, having a very high review rating average. But the good news is 69% of consumers in 2023 wrote a review when they were asked to. And so really that just means, hey, you're not asking, the chances of you getting a review from that customer is going to be a lot lower than if you asked. Okay. And we're going to talk, that's going to be a big chunk of this webinar today, is just exactly how to ask for reviews with your customers and how to respond to them when you do get them. So do we have any questions so far?
Not right now.
Perfect. Okay. And so really quickly, we're going to take a quick detour here and just talk about some of the top review sites. People talk about reviews that they get online, but there's really, a group of core review sites that everybody gets reviews on. And these are going to be the more generic sites. So they're not going to be industry specific. And we know there are quite a few out there. If you have a question about any of those industry specific sites, please feel free to drop in a question in the chat. If it's something that is very specific, we're also happy to reach out to you after the webinar to address the question that you have. And so, of course, kicking things off, the BBB, for those of you who don't know, you can get reviews on your BBB profile. And in fact, we highly recommend it for several reasons. You can see here, number one, the BBB does not allow anonymous reviews. And in fact, they require customer information to be verified. And so we'll talk more about that later and why that's in your, essentially for your benefit. But again, no anonymous reviews, at least one piece of customer information is going to be verified. Now, there is at least 3 business days before a review is published once it's submitted by your customer, but you can actually have that work in your favor. And so what's nice about that is you are informed of a review once you receive it before it's even published. And what that allows you to do as a business is you can actually comment on a review before it's published. And so in the off chance that, maybe it's a less than flattering review of your business, not only do you get informed about it when it's published, or before it's published, and so you see it before the public does, but you'll have the opportunity to append a comment to it. So what ends up happening is the review gets published along with the comment that you posted. And so people can see what you have to say along with the review. And so that's what's nice about the BBB. Okay. And these are the 3 other sites that I think a lot of businesses do get reviews on or have questions about. And again, these are not going to be industry specific sites. They are review platforms that get a lot of volume of reviews. I'm not going to go through every single bullet point on here. If you guys want to take a picture of this or take a screenshot of it, you're very welcome to. As Jenny said at the beginning of the presentation, this is also going to be made available to you, both as a recording and the actual presentation itself. So you don't have to necessarily memorize everything that we talked about. So a couple of things that I do want to point out. So none of these review sites allow people that don't have an account to post a review. And so for instance, to post a review on Google, you need to have a Google account. Same thing for Yelp. For Facebook, you have to have a Facebook account, which as a lot of people know, is going to be tied to your actual name. And so that's what's nice about these review sites is they don't allow quote unquote anonymous reviews either. They do all have pretty much immediate review publication after review is submitted. So that's how they differ from the Better Business Bureau is, when a review is published on here, it appears right away. And so you might not have an opportunity to see it before the rest of the internet does. And with Yelp, Yelp has an algorithm that kind of determines which reviews they recommend and which reviews they don't. We get a lot of questions about the Yelp algorithm. All I can say about that is you can get a great review on Yelp and they can quote unquote filter it, and so that it's not considered recommended. And so it's actually not going to be included in your review rating. So only recommended reviews on Yelp is going to be factored into the average review rating that you have on Yelp. And so there's a lot of things that go into why a review is recommended versus not. All I'll say is just because a review isn't recommended today doesn't mean it's not going to be recommended next week. If you have questions about Yelp specifically, we're happy to answer them after the webinar because we do deal with a lot of businesses that kind of struggle with the Yelp reviews, especially when it comes to reviews not being recommended. Now, all of these review sites do allow you to respond to a review, but again, you can't respond to the review until after it's published, which is what makes it very different from BBB, where you can submit the comment before the review is published, and both the review and your comment is going to be, they're going to be published simultaneously. So any questions about that? Okay, and so knowing all of that, and again, knowing that Google gets the vast majority of reviews online, which there's a lot of factors that go into that, one of them being that Google is the most popular search engine by far. And so it's kind of when somebody is doing research on something, they usually do it on Google, and then they'll see the Google profile page for a particular business. And so that's part of the reason why they get a lot of reviews. But again, even though Google gets the volume of reviews, consumers still trust Better Business Bureau reviews the most. So everything else being equal, you have a review from Google or you have a review from Yelp and you have a review from BBB, consumers are still going to trust that BBB review more than reviews from other sites. And so I think that's a really great sign, especially if you're an accredited business, because number one, because people don't expect a lot of reviews on your BBB profile, it only takes a handful of reviews on your profile on BBB to make an outsized impact. You know, in a lot of ways, Google getting a high volume of reviews means that consumer expectations are that you'll have 30 or 40 reviews on Google. But for BBB, maybe all you need are 4 or 5 5-star reviews for it to really have an influence on consumer perception. So that's just something to keep in mind. Okay, so knowing all that, knowing that, you know, BBB reviews are trusted the most by consumers and that reviews in general are important to consumers, BBB has partnered with us, the Review Solution, to provide accredited businesses with an app to help with customer reviews. And so what does that look like? Number one, it's an app that the business downloads. So your customer is not downloading anything. I do want to make that clear. I know that you think of, you know, Yelp as an app and Google Maps and all of that have an app, but in this case, this is not a consumer facing app. So this app is 100% for the business. So you download the app on your device as the business, you open it up, and this is what it looks like. So as you can see here, there's the customer name at the top, or sorry, there's the company name, your company name at the top, and there's a spot to put in the customer name, and there's a spot to put in the customer's phone number. And all you have to do to request a review from your customer is put in their name, number, and hit send. Very easy. And in fact, they actually, the app actually has a feature that allows you to integrate your contacts directly into the app. So if you want to pull your contacts in, especially for those of you who use, you know, a work phone that has all your customer information on this phone, you can do that. You don't have to enable it for the app to work. So the app will work perfectly 100% even without you using this feature. But if you want to cut down on some time, especially since you do have customer information already stored on your phone, you can turn on contact integration, and all you have to do is actually start typing in your customer's name and then just select from the drop down who you want to send that your review request to. And so you don't even have to physically type out the phone number, and that's going to cut down on typos or anything like that. Okay, so again, name, number, send. Once you hit send, your customer is going to receive that text immediately. So as you can see here, that text message has your name, or sorry, has your business name, and it also has the customer's name. So it's going to say Moira, which is in this case, the customer name that you typed in. Thank you for choosing, and it's going to have Third Coast Interactive. Would you be so kind as to leave us a BBB review? And then all it is they just click on that link and it takes them directly to where you can leave a review. And I do see that we have a question here pertaining to this. So I will go ahead and read it out loud and then address it. And this question is from Danielle. And so she says, a contacts integration is really awesome. I wasn't aware of that option. Question, when the customer receives this text, what phone number does the text come from? And that's a great question. So the phone number is going to be a verified 888 number. We verified this number with the different cell phone carriers and also through Twilio, which is the platform that we use to send out text messages. And essentially what that means is because it's verified with the cell phone carriers, it's less likely to be marked as spam or end up in your customer spam inbox. I know that you guys are probably getting a lot of different text messages nowadays. And some of them are going to come from companies that didn't verify the phone number. And so they're more likely to end up in spam. And so again, the phone number that we use is verified with all the major cell phone companies. And so that they know that the text that's coming from it is not going to be a spam text. That's a great question. I hope that answers your question. If you're interested in the actual phone number, Danielle, I'm happy to send that to you after the webinar. And so that way you can, you can be aware this is the phone number that the texts come from. Any other questions?
I have another question too, real quick in regards to that then. With text messages, and sometimes people have to pay additional rates possibly. when you get text messages from an outside source like an 888 number, is that something that customers would have to worry about then too?
So if you have a customer that's on like a prepaid plan,
Hmm.
this is why we always recommend to ask your customer before you send them a text message, right? So again, of course, the vast majority of customers are not going to have that issue. I think most people are on the unlimited texts now, but that is a good question if they have a prepaid or, they get charged X amount of, um, I guess cents, I think it is per text message they receive. And so we always recommend before you send out that review request to your customers to ask them if it's okay if you'd send them a text. And so that's going to basically, as long as you get that explicit verbal permission, then go ahead and send that text. And that way they know that you are going to be sending them a text and they're going to be getting one on their phone. That's also going to increase the probability that they're going to interact with it because they know that it is coming. But that's a great question, Jenny.
Thank you.
Any other questions about that? Okay, great. So again, so the customers get this text message and all they have to do is click on the link. So if you think about it so far, up to this point of the interaction, what the business has had to do is put in the customer's name and phone number and hit send. All the customers had to do is essentially open up the text message and click the link in the text. And then they just have to leave you a BBB review. And so what this does is not only does it make it really easy for a business to request reviews from their customers, it makes it easy for the customers to leave a review because all they're actually tasked with doing is writing the review. So they're not having to search for your business online. If they're trying to leave you a BBB review, they're not trying to find, your BBB profile link, trying to figure out which profile is the correct one, where on the profile they have to click to leave your review. This takes them directly, to where they need to go, that all that's really left for them is to write the review. So it makes it really easy for both the business and the customer. Okay, and again, so why would you use the app if you're an accredited business? Again, very quick and easy. You only have to put in their name and number. The customer only has to click the link and leave a review. As we know, too, texts get a lot more response rate, higher response rate than emails nowadays. And so just think about your own behavior as a consumer. If you're more likely to read an email versus read a text, or open up a text versus open up an email. And the other thing about this is we talked a little about BBB verifying customer information when they get customer reviews. In this case, because you're entering in the person's phone number, their cell phone number, before you send them the review request, it simultaneously validates that phone number when they submit that review. And so it's not an additional step that they have to take. Normally, if you were leaving a review on bbb.org, not through the app as a consumer, once you submit the review, you have to take an additional step of either verifying your phone number or your email address with BBB. And so using the app removes that step altogether, not because we're not verifying their phone number, but because it's happening at the same time as the review being submitted. So it's not something additional that the customer has to do. So again, it's way less easy, or way more easy, excuse me. It's easier for your customer. It's fewer steps for your customer to leave a review if you're using the app to get reviews from them. Another thing is the app does come with a dashboard where you can track basically every review request that's being sent out for your company. And so you can see which your customers that got the review request left you a review and which ones you need to follow up with. So any questions about that? Okay, great. Okay, so getting reviews. Basically, we've talked about, this app that you have that you can use to get reviews and why reviews are important, but how does it look in action? Well, let's just kind of talk about it. And I like this part because I think this is really what demystifies reviews for business owners. I think a lot of them know instinctively, again, that reviews are important. Now here's a tool to help you get it. And this is how to best use that tool. So if you take nothing else away from this webinar, even if you choose not to use the app, I always recommend to ask for a review at the point of service. That's going to be when your customer is going to be the happiest with the product or service you provided for them. And again, think about your own actions as a consumer. When, just in the span of a week, you probably interact with so many different businesses. You get gas, you maybe grab lunch with a friend, maybe you stop somewhere to have your car looked at, just all the different businesses you interact with. And think about what happens when you get home. Even if you had a great experience with that business, you're probably not thinking about that business anymore. And you're probably even less likely to leave them a review. On the flip side, if you had a horrible experience with a business, weeks later, you're probably still thinking about it and you're probably still willing to write a review way after the fact. And so the reason we ask or we recommend that you ask for the review at the point of service is this is also when your customers who are happy are more likely to leave a review. Unhappy customers don't need that additional motivation to leave a negative review online, but customers who are satisfied do, because I think by and large, people tend to expect great customer service. They tend to expect good value for what they paid. And so when that happens, it's not really out of the ordinary for them, so it doesn't stick out in their mind. So again, the more time that's passed since you first had that interaction with your customer, the less likely they are to submit a review online, especially if they had a good experience, which is why we always recommend asking at the point of service when you can. And that looks different for a lot of different businesses and types of businesses. So if you have a question about your specific business or industry, please feel free to drop in your contact information, and you can contact Jenny after the webinar, and somebody from my team is going to be more than happy to reach out to you and come up with a strategy that works for your business specifically. Now, going off of that is something I call the perfect walk. And this again, this particular strategy is very applicable to contractors and like home-based services type of businesses, but you can certainly adapt it to other kinds. And what that looks like is something like this. So I'll use a carpet cleaner example just because I think that's really easy. If you're a business and you just finished cleaning a customer's carpet at their home, so first thing you tell them is, customer reviews have become very important to businesses like ours. Would you mind leaving us a review? And they'll say, sure. Okay, I'm going to send you a text if that's okay. And this is also where it comes in that you're going to ask for permission or let them know that they are going to be receiving that text message. You take out the app, put in the name, number, hit send, they receive it. Again, the upside to this is, especially if they have their phone on them, that they got the text because you'll hear it come through. They'll know that they received the text because it made a noise when it came through. And so that's kind of that implied obligation there to begin with. And then this is what's key. So once you make sure they receive the text, let them know, hey, while you're taking a look at that, I'm going to double check and make sure everything looks good one last time and actually do it. So walk away, double check your work, right? What this does is, number one, it gives your customer space to leave the review that they actually want to leave. So they don't feel pressured to leave a certain type of review because you're not standing there looking at them. And it's not awkward for you because you're not standing there looking at them, leave this review, right? A lot of times you kind of just stand awkwardly. They're typing something on their phone. You don't really know what to do. So you're just standing there. So this gives you something to do while that's happening. And then of course, it does give you another opportunity to double check your work. So make sure that whatever it is that you did does abide by the standards that you've set for yourself and your business. So, again, with the carpet cleaning example, make sure you didn't miss a spot. You didn't leave any footprints behind. You're not leaving behind any equipment, stuff like that. So again, I really recommend this approach, especially if you have the type of, home-based service that this is easily adaptable to. And then once you're done, give them a few minutes. You come back to your customer and ask them if they had any questions about the review process. So ideally, what ends up happening is you would have received a review from your customer before you even left their house. So you can adapt this approach as you need to. We're happy to help come up with a strategy that's specific to your business if that's something that you are curious about. Okay. And then the third thing is really more philosophical. Just make asking for reviews a part of your process. It's not going to be a successful review asking kind of endeavor if you don't get your entire team on board. Because again, especially if you're the business owner, it's your team members that are really having all these interactions with your customers. And so if they're not asking for reviews, you're not getting the reviews. If they're not using the app or whatever tool you've provided for them, it doesn't matter how good the tool is if it's not used. And so if it's pushed from the top down, it's going to be when when it's going to be successful. And make it easy for them too. Just make it part of your day-to-day operating procedures. No different than having clock-in policies, or maybe you'll have, steps that they have to follow when sending out an invoice. Just incorporate asking for reviews as part of those procedures, because it makes it even easier for your team because they don't even have to think about it, right? It just becomes part of their day-to-day. And then it's easier for you to hold them accountable because it's part of the overall operating procedures of your business. So any questions about that? Great. One thing I do want to point out, and it's very important, is you do not ever, ever, ever offer many discounts or gifts to your customers in exchange for writing reviews. Number one, it is against the Better Business Bureau's policy to offer something in exchange for a review. And then the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, is actually also considering a rule that'll make it easy to find, or that they can fine a business if they're found to be essentially bribing their customers in exchange for reviews. And the reason they want to do that is it's very important to have marketplace trust between consumers and businesses. If people think that businesses are exchanging or offering something to customers in exchange for their reviews, people are less likely to trust their reviews, the reviews that they see online. And what that does is it has a negative effect on marketplace trust overall. So it is in the best interest of both the Better Business Bureau and the FTC to make sure that businesses are not doing this, because trust in the marketplace is important to both consumers and the businesses that are participating in that. Now, there's going to be a couple of exceptions to this, and you tend to see it in the health and wellness space, in the beauty space, where you offer maybe a sample of a new product in exchange for somebody's honest review. And in that case, the person that's receiving that sample or product for free has to explicitly state that in their review. And I think you guys have probably seen similar reviews when you're looking at a product. I was offered this product free of charge in exchange for my honest feedback. And that's what you're supposed to do. So that's really the exception to this rule. But in general, don't offer a coupon or free whatever service for a review. I'm sure you've seen businesses do it. That does not mean they should be doing it. One other thing I want to point out is it's also against the terms of service of a lot of these major review sites. And so the best case scenario, if you're caught doing this, is that particular review is going to be removed. Worst case scenario is they're going to put some type of label on your profile saying that you as a business have been caught essentially soliciting reviews in exchange for goods and services. So I do want to point that out. Okay. Other best practices that we've kind of already touched on. Again, give everybody in your company the ability to request reviews. This just means that anyone who has any interaction with customers, either potential customers or current customers, should have the ability to ask for reviews. I think we can all agree that a big factor in how a certain customer feels about your business is going to be the employee they interacted with. So even if, they thought they got the best deal, or they thought that the service you provided was excellent, if the employee they interacted with wasn't really pleasant, that's going to have a negative impact on how they feel about your business. So I think it's important to give everybody the ability to request reviews. The app makes that very easy. And we can talk a little bit more about that outside of the webinar. If you're interested in implementing the app and you have a lot of employees that you want to give access to request reviews, that's something that my team will be happy to help you with. And then the second thing is really more just again, making it even easier. So put either one person or department, depending on how big your company is, in charge of reviews. This doesn't mean that there's, you hire someone specifically to handle reviews, but just make it one person's responsibility, even if there's other stuff that they're responsible for. And this makes it easier for everyone else in your company, because then they know that if there's a review issue, they know who is supposed to handle it. This is most common when you get a negative review online and everyone knows you're supposed to respond to it, but nobody knows who is supposed to respond. And so this makes it easy. If you put one person or department in charge of reviews, that's the person that's going to be responding to reviews that come in, sending out any kind of follow-up questions and things like that. And then, of course, we talked about holding your employees accountable. Making reviews part of your everyday process makes that a lot easier to do, because everybody knows you're supposed to do it and how you're supposed to do it and when you're supposed to do it. It's easier to hold them accountable that way. I mentioned that the app also comes with a tracking dashboard that allows you to see basically all the reviews that are being sent out for your business. And so you can see, okay, Sally's sending out reviews every day like she's supposed to. Johnny has not sent out a review request in over a month. So it helps you see which of your employees are doing what they're supposed to. And then related to that, you can absolutely reward your employees. So once again, you don't reward your customers, but you can reward your employees. And one of the things we see with the companies that we work with that have implemented reviews very successfully is they have some sort of reward system mixed in for their employees. And it could be something simple where, the employee that requested the most reviews at the end of the week gets free lunch, or the employee with the most 5-star reviews at the end of the month gets some sort of other reward. Maybe for every great review they receive, they get a raffle ticket, and then you have a raffle at the end of the quarter, for like a brand new TV or an Apple Watch, something along those lines, where in the grand scheme of things, isn't really a big expense for your business to take on, but it's got excellent ROI, especially as it's going to boost morale for your employees. And again, holding employees accountable plus rewarding them is made possible because of the dashboard that the app comes with. Another great byproduct of this app is you get to see which of your employees are actually doing a great job, right? So maybe everyone is requesting the same number of reviews weekly, but one employee is getting way more 5-star reviews than anybody else. That's going to give you insight into that person's performance that you may not have had otherwise, especially since a lot of reviews that are posted online don't have the employee's name. And in fact, BBB doesn't allow that kind of information to be included with the review for privacy reasons. And so you might have all these great reviews online, but you don't necessarily know which employee, had that interaction to elicit such rave reviews. And the app lets you know, okay, well, it was John who sent this review request out, and they were the ones that got that 5-star review. So just another way that the app can help you gain insight into your team, and also you can use that to reward them. And then, of course, having an effective follow-up strategy to the review requests that you are sending out. This is when it comes in handy that you have one person or department in charge of the reviews. Any questions about that?
Myra, I have a quick question.
Yes.
So in regards to, like, if a company has, say, it's a roofing company and they have over 40 some employees, is there a limit in regards to how many people can actually have access to these apps, or is there an additional cost at all?
No, there is no limit. So 40, 150, basically as many people as you need to have access to the app, you can. You will need to reach out to us if it's, if it's, I think right now the limit is 25. So everybody gets 5 to start, and then you can, I believe it's 25, give or take, 20 or 25. So if you have more than that, you will have to reach out to us to kind of unlock those additional users, but it is not an additional charge, and you do get an unlimited number. So that's a great question, Jenny. Thank you for asking.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on that? Great. And so we've talked about why reviews are important. We've talked about the tool that the BBB offers to accredited businesses to help them get reviews, and then ways to use that tool so that you can get reviews. So now you've gotten a review. Now what do you do? Again, I mentioned that responding to reviews has become very important nowadays, almost as important as getting the reviews themselves. And it's something that customers are definitely looking at. And so just some quick do's and don'ts, certainly not an exhaustive list. For those of you who are looking at this list and thinking, okay, well, this is pretty common knowledge, I encourage you to read some of business responses online to negative reviews, and then you realize that maybe some of these are not as common sense as you would think, right? So one thing, again, respond to all of your reviews, negative, neutral, positive. You have to respond to them. So most people are just tempted to respond to negative reviews because that's, they want to defend their business, but you have to respond to the positive reviews as well. And those are actually very easy to respond to. Something like, thank you so much for sharing your experience. We really appreciate the opportunity to do business with you. Something standard that you use for your reviews. Again, goes without saying, be courteous and polite, especially when responding to an flattering review of your business. So one of the things that people forget is it's not just the person who wrote the review that's reading your response. It's going to be everybody on the internet. And there's a good chance that the person who wrote the review isn't going to come back and read your response. And then on the chance that they do read your response, this is your opportunity to bring back a disgruntled customer, especially if you did not realize that they were unhappy to begin with. Okay. One thing I do recommend is, especially if someone seems really frustrated with your business, is apologize. And what that looks like is really just acknowledging their frustration and saying, we apologize that you had an experience with our business that is not typical. Because it should be true. Like if somebody has a negative experience with your business, it should be an atypical experience. And so acknowledging their frustration does not necessarily mean admitting wrongdoing. And if there's like legal ramifications to that, depending on the type of review or whatever issue you're going through with that particular customer, again, you don't have to admit wrongdoing to apologize that they had a less than stellar experience. Okay. And on the flip side, don't get emotional or defensive. It's tempting, especially for those of you who've had a business for decades. It's basically your baby, part of your family. And for somebody to be disparaging that, I see why it's easy for you to get defensive when responding. But again, it's not just you and the customer that's reading that response. It's going to be everybody who comes across that response. And this doesn't include not just potential customers, but your current customers as well. And so you don't want your current customers to see that about you. One of the things I recommend is if you're feeling particularly emotional to a review is write out a response, but don't actually submit it, right? So write it down, get it on a piece of paper, kind of get all of that out there. And then wait 24, 48 hours before you respond to the review. While I always recommend the sooner you respond, the better. It's better to wait a little bit longer to respond to review if you feel very emotional or angry about it. Okay. Another thing is don't go into much detail or make it personal. Going into detail or revealing any personal details can actually be against some of the regulations that govern your industry, depending on what kind of industry you're in. I know that's an issue for the medical industry or financial services. And so just be careful when you're revealing too much detail. You also don't want to start going back and forth and have everybody see this argument that you're having with a customer. Again, best case is always offer to address it outside of the review platform, either with a phone call or an email, when you come across a particularly contentious review. And then don't speculate. If it's not clear why a customer is frustrated. In fact, again, you always want to communicate off the review platform as soon as possible. And if you can't figure out why they're frustrated, there's also a good chance that this person did not mean to leave a review for your business. So that's that I've seen that happen multiple times. And that's another reason why you shouldn't start speculating or responding so negatively, because they may not have even meant to respond or leave a review for your business. So any questions on that? Okay, so I'll go through this fairly quickly. Basically, you can leverage the reviews that you do get. I think reviews impact your website search rankings. So for those of you who are spending some amount of money on SEO, you probably already know this. The majority of trackable website traffic comes from organic search. So if you're paying for ads online, just keep in mind that the vast majority of people making it to your website still come from them organically searching you. And that's most likely Google, but there are a couple of other search engines out there that people use. And what that means is the third-party review sites carry a lot of weight with search engines. And so you could probably put two and two together. What that means is if somebody is researching either your particular business or your industry, trying to figure out, okay, which business do I want to give my money to in this particular industry, review sites tend to rank really high, especially third-party reviews. And so what that looks like is someone's researching, let's say plumbers in your area. They'll see the reviews for plumbers in the area. If your company has great recent reviews with a high average rating, chances are the customer is going to click on your profile and go to your website. And so what that looks like is, again, 100% free advertising, free referral traffic, just because you had good reviews. And so again, I'm not saying you should stop investing into SEO or paid search if that's something you're already doing, but don't discount the effect that good reviews can have to your website traffic, because third-party reviews rank really highly when consumers are doing research about businesses online, and they're likely to click on your company to learn more if you have great reviews. And so once you get them to your website, you can show them what you want to, but getting them there, having good reviews is just a big piece of the puzzle, and you don't have to pay for it. So it's completely free. Just keep that in mind. Another thing is you can use great reviews in your marketing. Your website is a great place to display it. There's widgets and things like that that you can use from the third-party review sites directly to display it. You can share it on your social media, especially if you're getting Google, Facebook reviews. That's something you can easily share. You can print it on any physical collateral. Of course, for all of these, make sure that you either have permission from the website itself or the person leaving the review to be able to reproduce the reviews themselves. And a lot of review sites have a standard policy when it comes to being able to share reviews from those websites. But once you are clear on what those policies are, feel free to reproduce the reviews, because again, it's great marketing, right? And then you can also collect testimonials directly from your customers on your website. So you don't even have to necessarily rely just on third-party review sites. Third-party review sites are still going to carry a little bit more weight just because consumers know that, you know, they're not associated or affiliated with your company, but that's not to say that you shouldn't take advantage of testimonials as well. Okay, if you want to figure out just how much reviews can improve your business, go ahead and evaluate a baseline. So the most important thing is get a review snapshot of your business today. Take a look at what you look like online on all the different review sites. Look at your BBB profile, look at your Google, make a note, screenshot, however, how you look like in your search results. Okay. And then, you know, use that once you start implementing an actual review process or review collection process, whereas it's using the app, distributing the app to all your different employees so that they can collect reviews, and check on that daily. And you should be able to see a correlation in how many times your phones are ringing, how many more bids and leads you're getting, and the number of reviews that you're getting on these websites, and you know how your review rating is going up. If you're already signed in to Google search or Google Search Console, you have an account on there. That's also great because it tells you all the different keywords and how people are getting to your websites. And you'll see that the percentage of them getting to your website from one of your review sites, one of the third-party review sites starts to go up. If you have an account with Google Business Profile, you've claimed your Google Business Profile, you have somebody managing it, you'll also see the metrics start to go up, basically more people clicking on your Google Business Profile, more people viewing your Google Business Profile, reading the individual posts. And of course, you can always ask your customer, how did you hear about us? Whether in person, with a card, you can have it as part of, sometimes when I'm filling out something for a business, it's one of the questions that they have on there. And you can see, okay, how many of my customers are coming from organic search? How many of them are coming to me because I had good reviews online? So that's a really good way to kind of track the impact that reviews are having on your business, okay? Now, I don't want to go into too much detail here, but I do want to say that there is an upgrade to the free app. So everything we talked about with the app, getting your reviews on BBB with a simple text to your customers, that's 100% free to accredited businesses. There is an upgrade to the app, which lets you request reviews from review sites, on review sites in addition to BBB. So you can get reviews on Google or Yelp or Facebook or Porch or Home Advisor. It allows you to monitor all these reviews in one place. And then you can customize a couple of the features on the app that aren't customizable on the free version to give you more control over your online reputation. Okay. So bottom line is reviews can make you a better business. Whether it's negative reviews, where if you're seeing the same thing over and over in your negative reviews, that should tell you maybe the easiest what you need to improve on or what's unclear. A lot of times negative reviews come from a misunderstanding of business policy, but if that tends to happen, maybe regardless of how good that policy is, if it's always misunderstood, maybe you need to change it, or maybe you need to make it clearer. Okay. On the flip side, positive feedback is reinforcing what you're doing well. Hey, this is the thing that we get compliments on all the time. We should keep doing it. And then neutral reviews, these are tricky. So the 2 or 3 star reviews, depending on what the actual review says, what to me, it tells you the easiest way to get from okay to great. It's a lot easier to do that than get from horrible to great. But sometimes the things in the neutral reviews are going to be the low-hanging fruit that are easy to change. And so somebody that maybe gave you a 3-star before is going to give you a 5-star now. It's a lot easier to go from 3 to 5 than 1 to 5. Okay. All right. So really quickly here, if you're an accredited business and you want to get started with the BBB review app that we talked about today, you can log into your BBB business account. It should have all the information on there, or you can contact your local BBB rep to get started. If you're not currently accredited and you would like more information on BBB accreditation, go ahead and contact your local Better Business Bureau office. At the end of this presentation, there will be contact information for Jenny, so you can reach out to her too. And then this is our information. If you have questions about anything on this app, you can go to yourcustomerreviews.com. That's going to have all the information that we talked about today. Our toll-free number is 888-649-6140. And our email is support@thereviewsolution.com. And we do have a question from Danielle. So I'll go ahead and address that really quickly before we go on to the BBB specific items. So if I have a business that's having technical issues with the app directly, what is the best practice to help them troubleshoot? Are there resources that I can provide? Should I refer them to you, or should I reach out directly for that business? So that's those are all great questions. It really depends on what they're having. We do have a support link on the app, so they can go on there, and those are the frequently asked questions that most likely will address the question that they're having. If they're not able to address the issue with the FAQs, you can have them email support@thereviewsolution.com, or have them submit a ticket from that support link through the app. So the support link also includes a way to submit a ticket directly to our support desk, and that's going to be the quickest way to get to us. But if you would like to reach out to us too and just kind of give us a heads up, hey, this business is having issues with this, please reach out to them. That also would not hurt. But that's a good question, Danielle. So thank you. Okay. And Jenny, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you so much. So just real quick, we wanted to let everybody know about some upcoming events that we have. And please remember to always go to bbbinc.org to see what we have throughout the year. So on August 21st, we have a webinar of navigating the charity landscape. This is with Jim Judge. So he'll talk about becoming accredited if you are a charity, and then also giving to different charities. September 10th is the BBB, the benefits of the accreditation with us. So please check that out if you are interested in seeing what else we have to offer besides the review solution. And then on September 24th, it is our 27th annual Torch Awards for Ethics Luncheon. So if you're interested, please go to our site, get registered today for the event, and come out and celebrate all the winners with us. And then September 26th in Overland Park, Kansas, we will be having our ribbon cutting and open house ceremony. And this is from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. So come out, see us. We'd love to see everyone in the area. And then also on September 27th at the Overland Park office, we'll be having an in-person first aid training and certification class. This is with a limited number of people. So if you are interested, please go today, get signed up, and get registered for that. Next slide then. Here's my contact information. If you have any questions about today's webinar or would like to see us present on anything else specifically or coming out to your area to talk about something, please reach out to me. I would love to discuss those opportunities with you. And on behalf of the Bureau, we thank all of you for coming out today and learning about the review solution and ways that you can impact your company to get those positive reviews out there and help your business even more. Also, a special thank you to you, Myra, for educating us all on the reviews and how we can better businesses out there and help our customers in another way too. And then lastly, we have our survey. Please go ahead and scan the QR code. Again, this will help us with your feedback. We appreciate everyone's feedback and letting us to be able to do better for you, and also to give other presentations out there for you too that you might be interested in. Lastly as well, we just ask that everyone please again visit us on our website at bbbinc.org for all of our future events. And we do have a couple more webinars in the future with Myra. We have one again on Thursday, and then a couple more in November, I believe, is when they are. So if your colleagues are interested in learning more about this as well, then too, it'd be great to have them there at those webinars with us. So with that, thank you, everyone. We will get this out to you later on this afternoon, and we look forward to seeing you again here soon. Have a good day.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Jenny. And thank you to the BBB of Midwest Plains for having me on to talk to your accredited businesses.
Thank you. We appreciate all that you do. Have a good day.